Hello there. I'm Brad Loomis, professional natural bodybuilder and master powerlifter. I'm a contest prep coach for powerlifters and cosmetic athletes with 3D Muscle Journey. I'm also sponsored by AST Sports Science and proud to represent their brand. However, that's not all that I am. I'm also a devoted family man, a CAT scan tech, and a devout Catholic. A life like mine is not at all glamorous, at least not as some would lead you to believe. Don't get me wrong, there are some high points, but it's mostly just a lot of hard work. And it's quite boring, especially for a guy like me, with below average genetics for bodybuilding and only putting up average to maybe above average numbers in powerlifting. However, that didn't really matter to me. I love my life as a family man, and I love my life as a coach. And this is my grind.
Hello again, guys and gals in Team 3DNJ land. Coach Brad Loomis again, and we're going to bring you a Q&A from the actual questions that are on my videos. And we've done this twice now. I believe we covered episodes 1 through 7. And now hopefully in this Q&A, I hope to answer questions from episodes 8, 9, and 10. So just a quick little review. My hope is that we'll cover some really good stuff that is ultimately going to benefit the greater good, I guess you might say. So this is episode 8. This is where I interviewed Steve Taylor, our intern, who is accumulating his hours for his college credit. And in this particular episode, we covered deadlift cues and fiber. So we've got a bit of a complex question here. That's a good one. Brad, bit of a detailed question. Hope it's understandable. In terms of dieting, I understand that NEAT, N-E-A-T, non-exercise activity, varies. But if someone's maintenance is, for example, 2,600, and when they go to 3,000, they may still possibly be at maintenance, still due to NEAT. So they can possibly look at it as having a maintenance range, if that's a logical view to have, I hope. Therefore, when entering a deficit, do you go off of the 2,600 or 3,000 to determine the severity of the deficit? Water retention can be so variance between people, even at small deficits, so tracking weigh-ins at time can be a losing proposition. So curious if the recommendation would be go on the lower end of maintenance range, perhaps. Thanks. So when it comes to maintenance calories, calculating maintenance, it is pretty much a moving target. However, it's usually a moving target more so due to NEAT and TDEE than actual changing levels. For example, a person's maintenance level of calories will dramatically go up if they go from a desk job to a construction job. And that has happened, and sometimes that happens right in the middle of prep. And so a lot of times you have to almost kind of reset and almost go with a different approach, where you abandon cardio and you kind of more so look at the weekly rate of drop by the end of the week of what it's going to trend to be, and then kind of backload cardio at the end of the week to get those weekly calories like we want them. But hardly ever does a person have that wide a range as far as what could be maintenance. What you have to do a lot of times is you don't look at the day-to-day changes. You mentioned that water retention can be so variance, and yes, you're right, and that's why we don't pay attention to the day-to-day changes. We need the day-to-day weigh-ins, body weight, but we need that information to feed what the weekly average is. And so if a weekly average is, say, 165 pounds, and if a person is staying at 2,600 calories per day, give or take, over the course of, say, 4, 6, 8 weeks, and they're staying about 165 pounds, that's probably maintenance for that person. Now, if they jump to 3,000, what basically has to happen in that case to find out if now that is truly maintenance is you need to follow that for 4, 6, or 8 weeks, which is why I like having more data than less data. Because when you jump to 3,000, you can look at the 2 weeks averages for the following 2 weeks, and yeah, it's 165, and then the next week is 165.8, and then maybe you follow it for a third week, and maybe that week is 165.7. Well, with only 3 weeks, which is 21 days, that could lead you to believe that no, 2600 is not maintenance, 3000 is maintenance. However, I use this analogy a lot. The body is analogous to a car going down the road at 70 miles an hour. So say that, for example, we're going down the road at 70 miles an hour and we're thinking, okay, we're going to just romp on the gas pedal here. Are we going to immediately go from 70 miles an hour to 100? No, there's some time lag there in which that happens. And so we got to build up from 70 to 75 to 80, 85, etc. Okay? And the same thing on the flip side. If we're trying to drop weight and we just take our foot off the gas, is the car just going to come to a stop? No, it's not even going to do that if we slam on the brakes. There's still slowdown time there. And so it takes time to ultimately see what is going to happen and how long it takes to get there. So expanding on that, let's say that we track 3,000 calories for a fourth week, okay? Now we may start to see, oh, well, look at there. Now we're at 165.9. A fifth week, now we're at 166. A seventh week, now we're at 161.2, 166.2. You can kind of see that when you look at look at this forest that I'm looking at here. If I look right down here at this one coniferous tree, that would lead me to believe that the entire forest is coniferous. However, if I look up, it's deciduous trees for miles and miles and miles. If you look at just a small sampling of, say, 3 weeks, that's the blink of an eye in the course of a year. And if you're looking at that 3 weeks, you're seeing 165, 165.2, 165 again, you might be missing the forest if you expand that out and keep looking at it. Because ultimately, I mean, let's figure this out, quantifiably as far as calories go. 400 calories a day times 7 days in a week, that's 2,800 calories per week. If there's 3,500 calories in a pound, you're going to be gaining 2/3 of a pound a week if, you truly jump to 3,000 calories. Okay, now again, it takes time for the body to build that up, but hardly ever is there that much of a variance. So if your question is, which do I go by, which it sounds like it is, either A, I think that we need more time to gather more data and truly see how 3,000 calories a day affects a person, or B, go somewhere in the middle. Maybe go 2,750 or 2,800 as maintenance, and then program from there either weight loss or weight gain. Kind of long, sorry about that. Anyway, got some people that are just messing with me more than anything. That's okay though, I'm an easy target. His RD required internship with 3DMJ. I didn't know that was possible. Yeah, he did earn his college credit to get his to graduate from college. And you'll hopefully be hearing more from Steve and Team 3DMJ in the future. Brad, I'm aware you've been sponsored by AST Sports Science for a while now. Do you recommend their multivitamin and mineral AST MultiPro 32X? Honest answer. Yes, I do, if you're the kind of person that does not get all of your servings of fruits and vegetables in. If you get all of your servings, your recommended daily allowance of fruits and vegetables in, there's no reason to take any multivitamin because you're getting all of your vitamins from your fruits and vegetables. However, with me, I don't necessarily get all of my recommended daily allowance of fruits because I don't get a lot of carbohydrate. So I do take the AST's multivitamin because it is a pretty potent multivitamin that, in some of the vitamins and the minerals that are in there, it's got like 2,000% the RDA, which to me that's a pretty potent multivitamin. So yes, I do under certain circumstances, and that's the reason why I take it. Okay. So count fiber is 2 calories. So this is referring to our fiber discussion. Count fiber is 2 calories per gram on average, or half as many grams of carbs. Simple. Why are people still confused about this? Strictly speaking, should be 0.22 grams of fat per gram of fiber, since it's converted to SCFA, short-chain fatty acids in the gut. But calories are all that matters. Liz, I think that you're probably just, debating just for the sake of being right, instead of what's truly best for your client and for your results. And so, let's kind of break it down a little bit. It's the confusion part is secondary, which I'll get to here in a second, to the more primary reason why we don't want to do that, and that's accuracy. Okay. Eventually, there's going to come a certain time in prep. I mean, yes, we do advocate flexible dieting and counting macros, but there's going to come a certain point when either A, you have to be super precise with your macros and count everything, or B, you got to overestimate. If you don't know, or let's say that you're pretty certain that something's got 42 grams of carbs in it, you're going to round it to 50. If you're pretty certain that something's got 8 grams of fat, you're going to round it to 15. It's simply what has to be done in order to get to the kind of elite levels of conditioning and super low body fat that's needed on the pro stage. And so if you say that you do count everything is 2 calories per gram of fiber, you don't know that fiber's got 2 calories per gram in the fiber. It could have as much as 4. And so if you're taking in 40 grams of fiber, deducting then well, let's not make it too complex yet. I'm going to get to the confusing part here. But you say you're taking in 40 grams of fiber, and you're basically counting that fiber as 2 calories per gram. We're looking at 80 calories, right? Well, if that fiber truly has 4 calories per gram, you're calculating something as 80 calories when it's really got 160. Okay, so you're off. You're inaccurate by 80 calories, which is doing the exact opposite of what we need to do, which is round up to get to elite levels of body fat, not round down. Okay, so yeah, you're off 80 calories a day, 7 days a week. That's 560 calories right there. You've got what, a fifth of a pound. Okay, and so over time that will thwart your fat loss efforts. So inaccuracy is the number one reason why we don't advocate it. Now, number two, let's talk about the confusing portion of it. You're not going to be able to just calculate this on the fly during the day, which is why we advocate flexible dieting, is because it does allocate for a certain amount of balance. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go to the end of the day. Okay, I've gotten 250 grams of carbohydrates. 40 grams of that is fiber. So essentially I've gotten 210 grams of carbohydrate, which is 840 calories. I got 80 calories. If I got 40 grams of fiber, I got 80 calories from fiber. So I'm going to add that back in. Now that's going to be 900 even. Okay, so that means that I've got an extra 100 calories that I can get in from carbohydrates. So I can get in an extra 25 grams from something, 2 rice cakes. Hopefully that was confusing enough for you all to follow, much less be able to report that to your coach. So there's the confusing aspect of it, is that coach and client are not on the same page. Gosh, this is a 12-minute video already, and I didn't even get to the next video, so I apologize, you guys. This is going to be just a little bit longer, and I won't be able to go over episode 10 like I hope. So let's quickly kind of go over episode 9, and then we'll go ahead and call it a day. This is my ascending sets as I warm up, for my training for the day. Essentially, boy, what happened to the comments here? I know there were comments, but it says the comments have been disabled. I'll be darned, huh? Well, I'll have to answer that one in a different episode. I know there was comments on that, though. That's interesting, because I remember reviewing them as I was getting ready for this. Okay, well, let's just go to episode 10 then, and then I guess I'll just come back to episode 9. Interesting, though, because I remember reading one about a person that was going from squats to deadlifts, and how the person would warm up for deadlifts. So that's interesting. I'll have to see if I can look into that. So let's go to episode 10. This is basically an episode where I just kind of real quickly scratched off the items on my list as I went through a week of Helmsko training. I touched on the quality of our videos. I am working on that. Not sure if the audio selection could be any more annoying. Well, Mr. Source, that was my son that made those videos. So I appreciate your input. However, I strongly disagree with you if I could. I really like that music that he made for me. Okay, can you go over a video going over Helmsko in detail? Curious to see what programming you're running. Thanks. I don't know what detail that you're looking for, but essentially Helmsko is a daily undulating periodization where we've got kind of a focus on high intensity, lower repetitions, which I guess could be termed power, okay? Another day we're focusing on lighter loads and more repetitions, which could be termed hypertrophy. And then we've got kind of a middle of the road day where it's kind of, you know, medium loads in kind of middle of the range repetitions, and that would, I guess that one could be termed, you know, kind of power, I guess, in a way. So we've got these days where we're undulating things, you know, on the daily, and then we're in a nutshell, we're building volume over time, and then dropping intensity, and then we do that for over the course of like 3 weeks, and then we flip it, where, you know, we essentially drop volume but build up intensity, okay? And then we kind of start the process over again. So it's kind of like 3 weeks, we drop intensity and build volume, and then we flip it, and for a couple weeks we build intensity and drop volume. Without getting into more detail, that's basically how we're running the big lifts. The more secondary work, we're kind of doing it more intuitively, and so we're kind of doing more of a it's still kind of an undulating periodization in a way, but it's more so on the weekly instead of the daily. So on the secondary work, we're simply going a week of 12s, and then we're making things a little bit heavier, and we're doing a week of 10s, and then we're going a little bit heavier, and we're doing a week of 8s, and then we lighten it up and we start over again. So the periodization is kind of more so adjusting things, you know, I guess every 3 weeks, as opposed to the daily portion of the big lifts. I don't know if I could get into more detail than that, at least in this particular setup. Okay. Callum says, I understand the principle of increasing volume weekly over time to progress rather than focusing only on days, but I'm not really sure about skipping your last set of bench and then doing it 3 days later. Not for me. That is if I perceived it correctly. And yes, in that particular week, you did perceive it correctly. You know, that is how I did it. But keep in mind, that is more so the exception than the norm, okay? Really, you know, we have to think about, you know, kind of in Eric's pyramids, we think about the base, most important portion of the pyramid, and that's adherence. I've got to adhere, you know, to the volume that he is prescribing for me day after day, week after week. And when I get my hands dirty in the gym, and when you guys get your hands dirty in the gym, things happen. You know, you run out of time. You've got to get to work, which was my case. You know, you get a phone call, you know, you got problems with the girlfriend, you know, whatever. And you got to split the gym that day, okay? There's certainly nothing wrong with going on another day and finishing what maybe you didn't get, as long as that's the exception, okay? And that was the case here. Now, you wouldn't want to do that all the time, obviously, because you get 2 sets in, you know, there's going to be a certain amount of fatigue that's already been placed beforehand on, you know, before that 3rd set even starts. And if you run that 3rd set on a different day, it's hard to duplicate those same measures. But again, you know, while you don't want to make that, you know, the norm and how you normally do things, there's certainly nothing wrong with the exception. All right, you guys, sorry, long video, 20 minutes long, episodes as it turned out, 8 and 10. I'll see if I can find out what happened on episode 9 there, look at the comments, and then, yeah, we'll answer them at that time. Thanks for your attention, and thanks for watching.